Hi.
Dean, how you doing, buddy?
Mike, um, I'm doing all right. I got to tell you though, my fire alarm has been going off since last night, off and on. I had to put the culprit uh, in the garage. So hopefully we can get through this without it going off again.
Hey,
I don't know if you've ever been woken up in the middle of the night by a fire alarm, but it's not
it's
fun.
it's scary, right? But at
It's
least
crazy, and this has been going on like every other month for a while,
wow.
uh, and it just went off again like 15 minutes ago, and I had to put it in the garage, and it's hooked up to the box, right? I mean,
Right.
it's hardwired in, and I've shut it off, but the thing is still going, and it's going in the garage as we speak. So
Well, Dean, this is the life of a Canadian rock star.
that's right, that's right, that's right.
Hey,
Uh,
whereabouts in the world do we find you today?
I am in Mount Forest.
Hey,
Do you know where that is?
well, help me a bit. I'm
It's on Highway 6 above Fergus, which is above Guelph,
okay.
north.
So is it snowing like crazy right now where you are? Or?
It starts snowing like crazy right now, but it's coming again.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought last winter was bad. I mean, it's been insane, you know.
Well, I'm in South Etobicoke, and I'll be honest, we get pretty mild winters. Like I talk to folks living
Yeah.
where you are. By the way, I got to say happy birthday to Ian Service. He lives in Guelph. He helps me he's like the CTO, the chief technology officer of this place. He helps me host these shows. So happy birthday to Ian. But I shouldn't complain. Like it's pretty mild, but yesterday, so we're talking on January 21st, but yesterday was
Right.
like a very rare day where I was on a bike ride. Okay. So you're like, what are you doing? But I'm on a bike
Oh,
ride.
you're still riding your bike?
Yeah. Well, I wrote it
Good.
today, but today felt like a balmy summer day compared to yesterday. Like yesterday was a day I was out there. I was like, oh, it's too cold for me to be out here. Like my face started to go numb.
Yeah. Yes. I put my bike away in November, so uh, good on you.
Well, maybe you're a sensible person, and I'm a little not so.
Well, I understand that you know, that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Well, yeah, and it's normally fun. It was not fun yesterday. I wrapped it up at 4 kilometers, and I said
This
that's it.
winter has not been fun at all.
Not fun,
Uh,
but I'm hoping we can have a fun chat, Dean. I want to maybe.
but if the smoke alarm does go off, you'll know that
Yeah.
it's not because what we're doing is going bad. It's just because that's what's
Oh
going
yeah.
on
No, you've given me a good heads up, and I won't hold it against you.
here. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you. So I do this quarterly special episode of Toronto Mike we call FOTM Cast, which is really
Okay.
meta. Like it's for the real heads. It's not for the Dean McTaggarts. It's for like diehard listeners. But we do this like CanCon Jam of the Day,
Oh,
and
cool.
we just did it, and we played Heart of the City.
Oh, cool.
So it's like I'm like, oh, what's Dean up to? That's when I reached out to you. I'm like, oh, would Dean talk to me, and maybe we can get like some of the Arrow stories. I got some other questions for you. Like you're gonna kind of go in the time machine with me here.
That's yeah, I'm willing.
Okay, good.
So
That's
yeah,
you know what? That's everything. And
yeah.
and because you're
Uh, but having said that,
yeah.
a lot of that stuff was a little while ago. So we'll see.
Well, hey, if you can remember it, you weren't there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Something like that. Okay.
That's right.
So one thing I want to shout out Basement Dweller who wrote in and just said the Arrows were a great band back in the day, especially on their fierce tracks, Meet Me in the Middle and Heart of the City. So we'll get to that, but I'm wondering like Dean, who were you when the Arrows were formed and can I get like some Arrows origin like superhero origin story here?
Well, I grew up in Brampton, and on the edge of Toronto. So we grew up with my heroes were the Mandela. I don't know if this may be way before your time, but Dominic Triano and guys like that.
Yeah.
Donnie was my hero. Guys like that. We started out as R&B band. My friend Mike Slosky and I started the Arrows probably in '81 or so, and did the cross Canada in a van a number of times. and then started writing original material and signed to A&M Records. That's sort of how everything started.
Okay, but that's 1981. But like,
That's right.
so like, when do you realize, hey, I want to be in rock and roll. I want to be a musician.
Oh God, I was singing in Peel music festivals when I was 9 years old. You know, so I knew that that's what I wanted to do from a very early age, and I started writing songs probably when I was 13.
Wow.
I mean, they weren't very good, but uh, that's when I started. In Brampton,
So you,
and
you
had
know,
bands probably from 14 on. You know,
so
high
you,
school band.
it was your calling.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, it
There's
worked
not
out.
much else I'm good at.
So wait, so we have you in Brampton in the late
Yeah.
70s. So I naturally, because a lot of noise has been made recently about a CFNY, The Spirit of Radio documentary that was airing. It's still available, I think, on the TVO
Yeah.
Docs YouTube channel. Like, would you tune in to CFNY back in the day?
No, I was listening to Chum FM for the most part. A lot of the punk stuff was a little bit after us, right? Um, I look back at it now and think, I probably should have been more involved in it, but I wasn't in the punk thing. I mean, we were a little bit more R&B, rhythm and blues.
Okay.
You know, we grew up in Sam and Dave and James Brown, so
I just had over here, just did an episode. Rob Bowman is the gentleman's name, and he wrote the most amazing book about Stax Records. Like, I'm just throwing
yeah,
this into the abyss, and he's a part. There's an HBO doc about Stax, and man, the Stax
I've
story.
seen it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, that's the stuff we grew up on. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to Memphis, and we've been to Muscle Shoals,
Hmm.
all those places where all that stuff started. It's pretty amazing.
Well, that's Rob Bowman's other book. This is the Rob Bowman episode because Muscle Shoals is his other sweet spot.
Yeah,
So
Muscle Shoals. My wife and I did a trip to New Orleans, and on the way there, stopped at Muscle Shoals, and it's like in a strip mall, right?
I,
Where Aretha was, where Wilson Pickett was, and we were lucky enough the day that we were there that there was one of the owners that was there and told us everything about every piece of gear, and it was just fat. I mean, for someone like me, it was just amazing, amazing. Yeah.
okay, so now we'll get you back to 1981. Actually, if you don't mind, I've got a few songs here. I might play a little song just to
Okay,
get
sure.
into it with you. Okay, so hopefully you can hear this, but let's kick this one out.
Oh, sure.
We're going back, Dean.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Wanna tell you a story every man ought to know. If you need a little loving, gotta start it real slow. She's gonna love you tonight if you just treat her right. You squeeze her real gentle, make her feel good. You tell her that you love her like you know you should. 'Cause if you don't treat her right, she won't love you tonight. Hey, hey, hey. All right. You gotta
So, Dean, I'm loving this, man. Like, what are we listening to here?
That's Treat Her Right. That's an old Roy Head song. That was one of the first things we ever recorded, and I think we recorded it at Kensington Sound, maybe, or either that or Grand Avenue in Hamilton. But I think it was Kensington Sound. That was like one of the original uh, uh, members of. I'm trying to think. I know Dennis Kelly was in that band, and Mike Slosky, the original drummer. Man, that's going back there.
That's the first single.
That's on El Macabo Records, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And so, okay, so this is where it all begins for the Arrows because
Pretty much, yeah.
This
Yeah.
leads to you got a I don't know, we call it a mini album. I don't know what you want to call Misunderstood.
Back then we called it an EP. Yeah, that we did at Grand Avenue with Daniel Lanois actually engineered for us, so that was a big deal for us.
Well, can you give
We
me
did
some
a
more
couple,
detail, like before we move on?
well, we did it. We did 3 original tunes, and we did a cover of "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood," the old Animals thing. And I did listen to them about 6 months ago, and I sounded very young. um, but yeah, that's so that pre to write, then the EP, and then we were writing, and I got hooked up with David Tyson, who as did a lot of producing, and we wrote a lot of songs together, and wrote a lot of songs on the first on both Arrows records. So that happened after the EP.
So we'll get back to David Tyson because you also wrote some big jams for other artists.
Yeah,
which we'll get to. We'll get to that, of course. But here we are in the Arrows segment of the conversation. What was it like working with Daniel Lanois? And give me a sense of who was Daniel Lanois at this time. We know who
he wasn't. He wasn't. We called him Danny. So I don't think he likes to be called that anymore. I'm not sure. But he was just getting going. Brian Eno, I think, had been in Hamilton with him for a little bit, but it was way before U2, way before Peter Gabriel. I mean, we knew how good he was and how fortunate we were to be working with him, but nobody could have guessed, what was in store for Danny Lanois. I was like, holy smokes.
Well, that whole family is so talented.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know his brother nearly as well as I knew Danny back then, but man, he was brilliant back then. That's 1981, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 1981. I believe his sister is one of the founding members of the band Crash Vegas.
That is true. I think she plays bass.
Yeah, and worth shouting out the fact that next week Michelle McAdory is going to visit, and she, of course, was the singer for Crash Vegas.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Man, there's a name I haven't heard since back then, probably.
It's funny because Crash Vegas is a great band. I've had Colin Cripps on, and I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
What a great band. And they had to kick Greg Keeler out of that band, because he had some other side project. I never heard of them again.
I now that you mentioned, I did not remember that Greg was in that band until you mentioned it. But they were hot back then. That's for sure.
Great band, but I almost wonder if the legacy of Michelle McAdory, still very talented, she'll be in here again talking about new music, but the legacy might be, she's the gal in the Blue Rodeo Try video. You know what I mean? Like, sure, Crash Vegas has some... Inside Out was a big Canadian hit. Like, you got a lot of big jams, but like at the end of the day, when all is done, and you'll be like, oh, that's the pretty girl from the Try video.
That's right. Well, maybe that's unfortunate. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It is what it is. I'll ask her about it, but she's a sweetheart, and I can't wait to.
And what label was that band on?
I can't. I'd have to Google it. I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know Colin Cripps and Michelle McAdory were but I do know there were Daniel Lanois' sister.
And Colin went on to Junkhouse, right?
He went on to Junkhouse. I'm actually staring at a Junkhouse album right now. He went on to Junkhouse. He did have a cup of coffee maybe before this. Yeah, before this he had I think Junkhouse was before Crash. Is it after? Maybe it was after.
No. I think it's after that.
It's after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can remember them being in Sony when I was working on Amanda's stuff. They were in the studio at Sony back then. So that would have been,
mid 90s, early 90s.
So yeah.
Well, we'll get back to Amanda. Don't worry. But do you have a relationship with the mayor of Hamilton, Tom Wilson?
Tom and I know each other, and we've done gigs together, and we've laughed a lot. He's a great guy and a very talented dude, obviously. I mean, I had no idea he was such an artist. I mean, that's come to light for me anyway in the last couple of years. I follow him on social media, and some of the stuff he's doing is just, it's gorgeous.
Well, it's like therapy. He's working through some stuff as he discovers he's a Mohawk man.
Yeah, I get that, and I had no idea. I mean, we've hung out and we've done songwriting things together. I haven't seen him for a while though. It's been a number of years since I've seen him.
He's got a great voice. I wish I could mimic it, but I can't, so I won't even try. But
He does have a wonderful low voice. Yes.
hey, can sorry to interrupt you there, but
Oh,
I'm itching to play another Arrow song that'll kind of,
okay.
because you mentioned A&M, so we got some questions, and I want to talk about Stand Back. But
Okay.
here's another one for us all.
I sit alone in the darkness, planning the perfect approach. The first step is always the hardest. The first move means the most. The more I think about it, the more confused I am. I could call out and say it, then you know where I stand. Would make it so much easier if you meet me in the middle. Give me half a chance. Whoa, whoa, meet me in the middle. Give me half a chance. Oh, baby, meet me in the middle. It's a one-sided situation. A one-way.
Dean, I hear a hit.
That's a pretty good pop song.
Yeah. I can't
Um,
help but sing along.
Uh, yeah, it was a big turntable hit, back then. I mean, we never did a video for that thing, which I thought was a mistake, um, because videos were just starting to really, be important, and for whatever reason, A&M didn't think it was a big enough song to do that for.
Jeez.
But yeah, David and I wrote that, and I got to be honest with you, it's not my favorite song on the record, but I get it. It's a cool pop tune. Um, there's other ones I like better on the record.
Wait, what's your favorite song on Stand Back?
I like Easy Street is a cool song. Uh, Generally, it's what I went through to write them too. It dictates how I feel about them a lot. If it was an easy write, or if it was magical, and I mean, I feel different about it. Yeah, Easy Street is probably, that Wild. The Wild One is another song I really like on that record. That was written about a friend of mine who passed away. Yeah.
So this song is just, hey, let's try to write a poppy
Well, it
radio-friendly
was.
single.
Yeah, we weren't trying to. It just kind of happened. It was one of the first things that David and I did together, um, uh, and then took it to the band. And the band kicked the hell out of it. So, uh, I mean, the Arrows. I was really fortunate uh, to have that caliber of players. Those guys. Fabulous players, every one of them. I mean, we had guys from Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and I mean, it was just a great band, and to get to do that with those guys, to play live with those guys. I mean, I look back now. I don't think I knew that then. How fortunate I was to get to play with those guys.
Well, if I knew now what I knew then, or something
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah,
gotta finish that one, but
Yeah.
it does seem like the group, the membership of the band, the Arrows, changes quite a bit through the years, with one constant, and that man's name is Dean McTaggart.
Well, yeah, Rob Gussevs was there for most of the time, but yeah, we switched, and Earl was there for both records. I mean, I get calls every once in a while the Arrows need to reform and go out and play some gigs, and it just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same without Earl. Earl passed away in 1999,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
and it would not be the same without him. He was a saxophone player, and um, he was just the heart of the band for me.
No, I can totally appreciate that, but I bet you
But
have
we
had.
did go, we went through drummers and we went through bass players. Bob Economou was the last drummer. I think we probably had 3 or 4 drummers over those two, the course of those 2 or 3 records, counting the EP. Right?
Have you received an email or a call from Ed Souza saying, "Hey, I have a bowling alley in Mississauga that needs the Arrows to play it"?
No, no. Who's that? Fill me in. Who's
So
that?
he's a chap. He's been bringing like '80s bands back to this bowl. It's literally a bowling alley in Mississauga, and they've kind of configured it so you get like Strange Advance, for example,
Oh,
or
I saw Strange Advance were out playing again.
yeah,
Wow.
that's where they'll play, or they'll Honeymoon Suite will play,
Yeah.
or Spoons. I can,
Spoons, right? Yeah.
well, Spoons are
Oh,
they're always playing somewhere.
yeah. As were Honeymoon Suite, but Strange Advance was one I hadn't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so you're now an FOTM, Dean, which means friend of Toronto Mike, and Strange Advance. The main guy from that band has been over, and we've had a good chat about that. So I do have a question though about the name, the Arrows, before I forget, which is where did the name come from? And then I'll have a follow up after I get that story.
Okay. The one of the most difficult things when you're starting a band is to find a name, and that was I think it might have come from one of the original guitar players, Rusty McCarthy, who ended up playing with Mary Margaret O'Hara and a bunch of other people. Rusty was the original guitar player. I think the Arrows might have been his name idea. Quite honestly, I don't remember. We went through a number of names, and it got to the point where we just said, "Okay, that's it. That's it."
Right.
Because like I said, it's probably way too much trouble picking a name.
But has anybody come up to you over the years, or maybe the question should be, how many people have come up to you over the years and said, "Oh, I love that song you wrote. I love rock and roll"?
But yeah. I used to get that more than I do now. Yeah. That was the other Arrows, right?
Yeah, that was the British Arrows, which
Yeah,
would,
the British
predate you.
Arrows,
So, did you ever get like a I don't know, a cease and desist letter?
No. Surprisingly enough, because I did think that was, after I realized after we'd been together for like 5 years,
right,
that there was another. But obviously they didn't care about it much. So,
and I mean, in North America, we didn't hear any Arrows. We heard Joan Jett's version of "I Love Rock and Roll." So nobody was smart enough. We didn't have Wikipedia or whatever. People, only the true savvy musicologists among us would say that's an Arrow song.
That's that's right. That's right. Man, that was a while ago too, right?
Yeah.
But the Arrows, the
70s.
British Arrows. When was that band around? Like
The 70s.
Yeah, 70s. Right.
Yeah, that's a 70s band. But best known for writing, I guess they recorded the original version they wrote of "I Love Rock and Roll," which became a monster hit over here when Joan Jett covered it. So
Right.
But I just wondered, I can see people saying, "Dean, you wrote that 'I Love Rock and Roll'? Man, that must be buying you a cottage in Muskoka."
I never got that much.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so recap here, just because I'm curious how the sausage gets made here. Okay, so you make that EP with Daniel Lanois, Misunderstood it's called.
Right.
And that A&M, is it A&M hears that and says, yeah, we like the cut of your jib, we're going to sign you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Michael Godin was the A&R guy. And Brian Adams was their big artist then, right? So yeah, we did the first record. We recorded some of it in Toronto. I think we mixed it in New York. The first record.
Stand Back?
Stand Back, yeah. And then we went out and played a lot. We did a tour, across Canada tour with Krista Berg, and then we went to through Europe with Krista Berg, Germany for the most part, France, Holland. And that was fabulous. All those guys in that band are still friends to this day. And then we did came home and did the second record, or the second full record for A&M.
The lines are open.
Lines are open, yeah.
Oh no, I'm just telling the listenership they can call now if they have a question for Dean. The lines are open. No, just kidding. That's the name of the album. Well, I have to get in all my jokes before the fire alarm goes off. So
well, I think we've been lucky so far.
Yeah, so far so good. Okay, and now that you said that, it's going to go off in 5, 4. Right. Okay, so I do want to ask about Meet Me in the Middle real quick. So, I'm curious, what stations are playing Meet Me in the Middle? Because we're going back to a different where are we? We're in 1984. Okay.
Yeah.
So what stations in the GTA, on the Toronto, I guess, would play Meet Me in the Middle?
Chum.
But would Q107 touch that, or was it too new wavy?
I think it was too pop for them.
Yeah. They don't like when synthesizers show up, unless it's Jumped by
they
Van
had
Halen.
a hard time dealing with that.
Yeah.
I think they played the second record a little bit more.
Right.
But for the most part, it was Chum and Chum FM. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And just to remind the young people, at this time, Chum is still top 40. I'm talking about 1050, because it does go to like golden oldies or whatever, classic golden oldies, I guess you call it. It flips to that in like 86 or something like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, like so it ends its top 40 run in I think 1986, and then it becomes like, yeah, like what's that called, that format, whatever. I call it golden oldies, but you can call it moldy oldies if you want.
Yeah, you can call it either one of those things, I believe. Yeah.
So Meet Me in the Middle, though. Firstly, 1984, as listeners of this program know, that was the year that Much Music launches. Not that many of us got it in 1984, but it was available. I'm looking at David Kynes sent me a poster. I'm looking at it right now. The nation's music station. It is short-sighted of A&M, because MTV's been going since 81. Where's the video? I think that's a mistake.
I don't know, and that was the question we asked. And to their credit, for the next record, we made 3 right off the bat, for Heart of the City Chains and
Talk.
Yeah. So to their credit, we did that. But yeah, we all thought that was a mistake. But, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, and also, like, what would, video hits with Samantha Taylor and Toronto Rocks with John Major.
Yeah,
they need some Canadian content. Let's get some Meet in the Middle.
Well, man, there's a couple of shows I haven't heard about for a while, and I know that Earl and I did the John Major one.
Yeah, Toronto Rocks. John Major, sadly, no longer with us, but
is that right? I didn't know.
Yeah, quite some time ago he passed away. I believe he's definitely American, but I believe he was from Cleveland. But I got to confirm if he's from Cleveland. But regardless, I just thought of Michael Williams saying, "No Cleveland, no Bowie," but that's a whole different episode of Toronto Mike. So, what was this Chris de Burgh, being the opening act for Chris de Burgh, going concert in '84, had the big hit, of course, the monster hit. But like, what's that like?
It was fabulous. In Germany, in particular, but a lot of Europe, he was, godlike. I mean, he was Springsteen-like. I mean, we were playing to 8,000-9,000 seaters in some cases. Some of the other bread and butter things during the week were, would be 3,000 or 4,000 people. But, Berlin, the big cities, it was huge. He was huge. And, you don't realize that sitting in Canada, just how big he was over there. But, it was fabulous for us because most of the guys in the band were Canadians and we knew them. They were friends of ours. So we were on the road with them and we stayed in the same hotels. It was just a fabulous experience. Just couldn't have been better. And Chris couldn't have been more of a gentleman than he was. I mean, we did a lot of opening stuff and you can get treated like crap, Chris was not like that. He was a class act and still is, Well,
that's because he's, I believe he's Irish, right?
He is Irish, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because he's born in Argentina, but he's Irish guy. Okay, one interesting note though is that you're on tour with him, and he's a big deal in Europe. But you're on tour with him before he releases by far his biggest North American hit, "The Lady in Red."
Yeah, but he was playing that then.
Okay, so maybe it comes out in '86, but okay, so that you're hearing it on.
We were hearing it then. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think, is it Man on the Line is the record that he was doing then? Is that, what record was Lady in Red on?
Well, I can tell you it's on Into the Light.
Okay.
Which comes out
after Man on the Line?
Yeah, which is 1986. And that was, here, I got to kind of.
I know he was playing that song there. So obviously they hadn't recorded it yet.
And how is the, Man on the Line is 84, and it's got a single called High on Emotion, which was kind of a big deal.
And then
the follow-up is when Lady in Red is like the first single that comes out on the album Into the Light, which is 1986.
I'm positive he was playing that song.
Amazing. Okay.
Of course, I could be wrong.
You know what? When this is the West, so when legend becomes fact, we print the legend.
There you go.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. So now, this is pretty cool because I have one more jam I got to play for you here. I could play, you have a few singles coming off, the lines are open. But I got to do this because this is what inspired your visit here today. I was listening to this song and I'm like, would Dean talk to me? And you never know, right? Like I've reached out to, Zappa Costa was like excited to talk to me from Edmonton, and there's some chaps.
I love Alfie. Alfie, I've known Alfie for years. We wrote songs together, but Alfie and I, when I lived in Brampton, years before we moved out of town in 2000, so it's way before then. But Alfie and I have had some crazy nights together. Yeah.
So because I mentioned Alfie Zappa Costa, I'm calling an audible on the line of scrimmage, okay? So I was going to dive into the lines are open, but since I'm in like 1985, what can you tell me about recording Tears Are Not Enough?
I wasn't there.
So tell me that story then, because why do I think you were there?
I have no idea.
So
I felt disappointed that I was left out. I can remember that, but I wasn't asked.
So this is interesting to me because I believe that there's obviously erroneous documentation out there that say you're in the chorus. But you would know.
My memory's bad, but it's not that bad. I think I would have known.
Okay, so you did not. And again, I'm just, I'm like Lorne Honickman here. I got to get the definitive answer here. I talked to him yesterday. So really quickly for the listenership, might find this interesting. There's a city councillor here named Brad Bradford who's running for mayor of Toronto this year. Okay. And he's been on a few times. And he wrote this Instagram post about how after our big snowstorm on, I think it was Thursday, we had a big snowstorm here. Yeah. And he posted that this city was clearing the bike lanes before it cleared the roads. Okay. Now, when I read this, it was right after I did a 30K ride on the Friday. So the Thursday, the snow falls. We got like 25 centimeters or something, which is a lot for Toronto. I know you guys laugh at that, but okay. So on well, you have to bring in the army, right? But on Friday, I go for a 30K ride to the junction, and I do this route, and it's all bike paths. And along the way, I'm seeing, basically, I have to risk my life several times because the bike lanes are completely unrideable because they're used almost as spots to dump snow. And there are parts where it's just simply, and I had a bike with like snow tires on it. Forget about it. So I have to go on two big streets. I had to go on Lakeshore and I had to go on Bloor Street and hope that these cars didn't run me over because they're like, who the hell are you to be biking on the day after a snowstorm? But so I had this experience on Toronto Bike Path. And then I read this note that FOTM, Brad Bradford says that they're, and all the streets were clear on my ride, and a lot of the bike lanes were just unrideable. And I was kind of like, so I wrote a piece where I didn't call him a liar, but I said he was lying to us. And then I just shared my experience, and I said I was disappointed in him. And then Lorne Honickman, who is my lawyer, was very concerned. He said that I can't just say he's lying. I have to ask an open question of like, what's he talking about? Like, so I got a whole, so yesterday Lauren calls me and gives me a very, this is kind of, I know this is a boring story, but he basically gives me all this legal advice that I can't write what I wrote about Brad Bradford. And then basically at the end of this all, I refuse to edit it. Brad Bradford is invited into the studio to talk about it, but I wrote what I wrote and I stand by it, but I love Lauren that he cares about me not getting my ass sued. And he's giving me loving advice because he's a lawyer. He thinks like that. But Lauren wants me to ask you definitively right now, Dean, were you at Manta Sound Studios in Toronto on February 10th, 1985?
I was not.
Mind blow. That's a mind blow. We have to make an edit to the Tears Are Not Enough Wikipedia page.
Oh.
Because
I was not aware that it actually stated that I was there.
It's got you listed as a member of the chorus, but
it is news to me.
Well, now I need to. Why were you omitted? You should have been there.
I'm trying to think.
Is it because you mentioned Bryan Adams? You know, the heart the brain trust of this Tears Are Not Enough is the Vancouver contingent. Bruce Allen, Jim Valance is co-writing this thing with we mentioned Bryan Adams. So, and then David Foster's producing it. There's a Vancouver heartbeat to Tears Are Not Enough. Were you to Toronto?
Maybe. I have no idea. All I know is I never got a call.
You want to know who else didn't get a call? Because I had him on the show, and he didn't get a call, and he says it's because Bruce Allen was pissed at him. You want to know who didn't get a call?
Yeah, I do.
Randy Bachman.
Really? Well, that surprises me.
Yeah, well, you're in good company, I'm telling you.
Well, now I don't feel so bad.
Now I feel bad that I was going to ask you all these questions about a recording you weren't invited to.
Yeah, there you go. A party I wasn't invited to. I don't know what to tell you.
You weren't invited.
I can guess what it was like.
Okay, guess.
I was not there. So
well, Mark, I can tell you, Mark Holmes from Platinum Blonde. Remember, this is for famine relief in Ethiopia, right?
Right.
So he took a limousine to the recording.
Of course he did. We opened for them a couple of times. One at Maple Leaf Gardens, and that was an experience. A million screaming girls. Wow. And they weren't screaming at the Arrows. They were screaming at Platinum Blonde.
Sounds like situation was critical.
Yes. Close to critical.
Yeah, they were a big deal. That mid-'80s, we mentioned Bryan Adams, but put Corey Hart in there, Platinum Blonde. Yeah. There was a scene, right?
Yeah, there was a scene. And, there was a lot of Canadian artists. Luba, whatever happened to Luba?
Yeah, let it go. Let it free your body. I got to track down Luba next.
Is she a good singer? What a great singer she was.
Yeah, and we talked about, Toronto Rocks and video hits and all this, and that was a staple. The video for that jam, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring you back to the Arrows here, because I do have some post-Arrows questions, but another jam, if you don't mind. Okay, this inspired the chat, so here we go. This is another radio-friendly hit single here, I hear in my headphones.
Yeah, I feel completely different about that one than maybe in the middle. I love that song. Jerry Mosby, who's a songwriter, producer, friend of mine around Toronto, him and I sat down and fleshed a bit of that out, and then David got involved, and Earl Seymour wrote the horn chart, which is just killer, and that was a lot of fun to record. The backgrounds, I think, are Sharon Lee Williams and Kalina Phillips, who are singers from Toronto.
I feel like she was on Polka Dot Door.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
But I love that track. That track opened some doors for us. That track, Dom Toronto used that on a TV show called Night Heat.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he actually used He used I Can't Let Go on another episode. He was very supportive of the band. Don was good. Actually, Dave Tyson played in one of Donnie's bands. So Don was at a few of our recording sessions for The Lines Are Open.
It's also worth noting, though, we talked about Randy Bachman, and he was no longer in the band, I don't think, but he was a member of the Guess Who, right? Dominic?
Don Walsh. Yeah, he was also in James Gang
Yeah.
after Joe Walsh. Uh, uh,
He's the guy we lost far too soon.
oh gosh, yeah. And just like, they say you shouldn't meet your idols and stuff, but Donnie wasn't like that, and he was just super approachable, just a pro, a gentleman. I can't, and I had the pleasure of getting to play with him on a number of occasions. There was an old club called Derringers in downtown Toronto, which we were a house band there, and Don came in and sat in for a couple of nights with us. I think Amos Garrett was another guest. Anyway, uh, Don, I can't say enough good things about Dominic Tran. Just a brilliant, brilliant musical mind.
Oh, I hear nothing but
Classic.
great things. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad you took some time to remember him for sure.
yeah.
Question about the video though.
Okay.
Jerry the Garbage Man wrote this question for me. So Jerry, I follow him on Blue Sky. Jerry the
Okay.
Garbage Man. Okay. Please ask him if those drinks were glued to the tray.
No, of course they were. Yes, yeah, I believe they were.
Yeah.
We did 3 videos in 2 days. Uh, the 3 videos from that particular album we did in 2 days, so it was nuts. So I believe they were glued down though.
Okay. Home of real talk. That's what we're
Yeah,
looking for here. Okay.
yeah.
Good question, Jerry the Garbage Man here. So I do have a question for you, and I don't want this to sound mean because I've had Blue Rodeo's one, Sloan is another. I could talk about the Tragically Hip, but there are some bands that are huge in Canada, and for whatever reason, Kim Mitchell and I had a long chat about this. For whatever reason, they don't get pushed properly or promoted properly or get a chance to break in the United States of America. Now, talking in 2026, I'm like, screw those guys. It's their loss, whatever. But I'm curious if that was important to the Arrows in the mid 80s.
Of course it was, and we went down and banged on the desks in L.A. and stuff. We went down to the old A&M office was in the old Charlie Chaplin studio in Los Angeles, and myself and our manager at the time, and I'm trying to think if there was any other members of the band. We went down to meet them, and they do the glad handing while you're there and all that stuff. But it's my take on it is it's not their idea. It's not the guy they've signed, so they're not going to get it. And we had a lot of turntable success up here, but we weren't selling a lot of records. And that's what they look at. If they're going to break a Canadian act in America or worldwide, at that time, again, this is just my opinion, they're going to want to see sales. And if they don't see the sales, then they're gonna go with one of their own guys that they've nurtured and sign.
100%. In fact, almost to a T what Kim Mitchell, because it was Go for Soda was the song.
Yeah, and what a great song, and should have been a worldwide hit, right?
100%. But the label decided to push a single by Twisted Sister. This is Kim talking to me, but he said they chose to promote Twisted Sister single to the rock radio over Go for Soda, and then I guess the way the business is it would die on the vine, and he would just come crawling back to Toronto and become a Canadian superstar.
Yeah, well, good for him.
Yeah.
But that's my take on it anyway,
Yeah.
and
That makes sense to me.
It makes me feel better that hearing that Kim sort of thought the same thing.
Yeah, if they don't want Go for Soda, then screw them up. But apparently, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving did use that song for like a promotional campaign of some sort.
I think I knew that.
Yeah, so you go. Yeah. So don't be mad about it, but put 2 D's in mad if you're gonna be mad about it. Okay. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, so here's what I got because I have some post Arrow stuff for you, but I need to know is that why it ends for the Arrows? Because you were a Canadian.
Well, there was a lot of we've been together for 5 or 6 years, and it just without getting any details, dirty details, it was just we'd had enough. We'd been on the road, and we weren't selling records. Was what it came down to. And there was a question whether there was going to be another record because we weren't, we weren't selling. Like I said, we were having lots of turntable play and lots of radio airplay, but we weren't selling any records, unfortunately. You know,
And it's expensive to tour this country.
big time, big time. I mean, and even back then, I mean, if to put production out there, to go on the road, it is not cheap.
No.
And as far as the band breaking up, it was just kind of one of those things that it just came to an end. It was we still talk to each other and we're still friends, but we realized that it kind of ran its course.
Right. Now, post Arrows, I have a question from Avery, who writes in and says, how did you come to write How Long on Harem Scarem's self-titled album from 1991?
Wow. I met Pete, and I'm having a brain cramp about the singer's name, and it's going to come to me in a minute.
Well, you do. You keep talking, and I'll spit it out
Okay.
in this moment here.
And there was
Harry Hess.
Harry, of course, Harry Hess. Jesus, Dean. But I am 73, by the way.
Well, you're doing. You know what? You're doing very well. I was braced for you to I don't remember the '80s, but you're kicking ass. All because you don't remember that you were on Tears Are Not Enough. Well,
I think that's a definite.
Leota Boyd says she saw you there. Okay, so who was that person? But anyway, I'm joking. Please continue with the Harem Scarem story.
Yeah, the Harem Scarem, and Pete and I still talk all the time. We're friends, and we've written songs since then. Myself and Gerald O'Brien, who is another songwriting friend of mine, who we've written songs together over the years. We were, I think, in the running to produce the first Harem Scarem record. And that fell apart. But somehow, because of that, Harry and Pete and I got together and wrote that song, How Long. Like I said, I still talk to Pete all the time, and he's a good friend.
Glad to hear it. Now we're going to get to Amanda Marshall shortly, but I don't know much about the wonderful singer that is Winona Judd, but you worked closely with her writing some big jams, right?
Well, actually, here's the deal.
Yeah.
David and I wrote with a girl called Tina Arena.
All right.
Who's Australian, okay? And probably the best singer I ever worked with. And that's saying something because I've worked with some great singers. We wrote Heaven Help My Heart. We wrote Love's Funny That Way. Both those songs were
Unsung Hero,
another one. But Heaven Help My Heart and Love's Funny That Way, in particular, Heaven Help My Heart was a huge hit for Tina in Australia and some other countries. And that's how Winona heard both those songs. She cut Heaven Help My Heart, Love's Funny That Way, and that's how those, they're fabulous recordings. David produced that. I don't think I said that, but produced the Tina Arena stuff.
Right.
And Winona's people got a hold of them because of Tina Arena. I'll tell you another little story is that
yes, please.
Right after she cut a couple of things, Winona called me one day out of the blue on a Sunday morning. She'd just come from church, and said, and I had sent her some more stuff because she had cut and I met her. I'll tell you a real quick story. I took my mom, my son, and my wife to see Winona in Toronto it used to be Ontario Place, right? And we were 5 rows back, and before the show we went and met her, and I had the sheet music for Heaven Help My Heart, and we were in the line. She said, "What are you doing with that?" I said, "Well, I wrote the song." She said, "Oh, oh, ooh, and who's this? And she was so nice to my mom and my son, who was very young at the time. Anyway, we went into the audience, and she opened the show with our song. And now, whether she did that because she knew we were there, because she did look down, it was like, man, it don't get it for a songwriter. It don't get any better than that.
And I'll interject to say that "Heaven Help My Heart" by Winona Judd went to number 14 on the Billboard country charts.
I won an ASCAP award for that. Yeah. That and Dark Horse, actually.
Well,
anyway, the point I was going to make, she called me on a Sunday morning and said,
yeah.
You sent me these songs. She says, I'm going to cut that Dark Horse song. And I said, you can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't do that, because Mila Mason had just cut it and it was coming out as a single. And I had to tell Winona Judd, you can't record that song. I'm sorry. I don't think she was very pleased. Anyway.
Oh, no, that's it's funny. I just watched a documentary. Hold on, I got to get the right names here. I'm having trouble finding the name of the documentary, but I can tell you that it was about Diane Warren. Okay, so I just watched it yesterday. It's about Diane Warren. And apparently Diane Warren, she wrote a lot of songs and a lot of big hits.
She writes a lot of songs. Yeah.
She got Aerosmith a number 1 hit. But she wrote a song, and she offered it to 2 different singers at the same time. It was, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of this song, but if I go to her wiki, maybe. It was a huge hit. And I want to get, Leanne, okay, How Do I Live, okay?
Okay.
She writes How Do I Live, and I thought this was very uncool of her to do this, but she writes How Do I Live, which is a great song. It's going to be a hit. And she gives 2 artists this song to record at the same time, but they don't know that the other's recording it or whatever.
I think that's kind of uncool too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for your credibility, although it's Diane Warren, so
Yeah, but okay, so the 2 artists aren't even, so one artist is Leanne Rimes.
Right.
And one is Trisha Yearwood. So they both are basically going to drop this big bona fide hit, and they have to battle it out in the charts. Like you can see, I think Leanne Rimes had the bigger crossover hit anyway, the bigger hit. But they were both big hits. But I was just thinking, the whole idea of big artist, you can't record this song that might put some nice money in my bank account because another artist is...
Well, I mean, when I said that to Winona, I mean, it was, just because the song was coming out by Mila Mason, within the next 6 weeks as a single. So I figured she had to know, I'd had to.
That's because you're cool. That's a cool thing to give her heads up. Right. And because that name, Mila Mason, is not a big name like Trisha Yearwood or Leanne Rimes.
No, but it was a big song. It was the only hit she ever had. It was like I said, I won an ASCAP award for her version, her country version in the U.S. So. Okay,
so we're gonna close with some Amanda Marshall talk, but I just want to shout out that song we mentioned, Unsung Hero. Terry Clark had a pretty big hit with that too.
She cut it too. Yeah. And again, probably on the strength of Tina Arena's demo,
Yes, 100%. And I like saying the name Tina Arena, it's fun to say.
She's quite the character, and still sings her tail off. And the record that Heaven Help My Heart was on just had its 30-year anniversary, so she's doing a big tour through Australia and stuff, and that's good for me.
Oh no, this is all good for
you. A little bit more radio airplay than we were. So
absolutely, that album's called "Don't Ask."
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready? And then at the very end, if I missed anything you want to shout out, of course we can do that. But I want to talk about Amanda Marshall, because...
What do you want to talk about?
Okay, well, we'll have to get the story of... Because you wrote, when I think about that debut self-titled album by Amanda Marshall, there's a series of big hits, and I think, these are great songs, but, some of these notable hits were penned by you, right? Is this you and David Tyson?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
The most part, yeah. So how do you, can you just tell me how you get involved with, because I've had, for example...
I can tell you exactly how I got involved with her. I was signed to TMP Publishing, which is Frank Davies. Frank Davies started Daffodil Records with Crowbar, Foot and Cold Water. Frank Davies is a great, great publisher. Anyway, and still is very, very active publishing songs in Toronto, and a gentleman. He had a guy working for him as my song plugger called Mike Roth. Mike Roth ended up as head of A&R for Sony Records. He sent, after working for us as a song plugger, when he went to Sony Records, he sent me a cassette of Amanda Marshall's voice doing cover tunes. He said, we're thinking of signing this girl. Have a listen, tell me what you think. I said, she's great. Either I sent the tape or he sent the tape to David Tyson. David said, I think she's great too. So I went to LA, where David was based out of then, and we wrote Birmingham pretty much in a night. And that was the one that opened the doors for Amanda Marshall. She came down, and pretty much what's on the record is what she sang that night. I mean, she's a great singer, just a great singer, you know. She was very young and, you know, just getting her feet wet as far as songwriting was going. But you could see what talent she had, you know, just amazing singer.
Well, two of her biggest hits on that album, Dark Horse and Birmingham, you're a co-writer of both of those.
Yeah, I had 4 on the record. Last Exit to Eden and Trust Me, This Is Love too.
So, okay, I don't even know, but what you can say to this, maybe you can say nothing, but okay, so she was known at the time before the debut album here, which is called Amanda Marshall. I think most Canadians own a copy of this CD, actually. This was huge, but... It
went diamond here, yeah, which is a million.
Well, Birmingham, like, I mean, I had on the show, because he has a song on that album too, but not a hit like yours, but Christopher Ward's been on this program.
I know Chris, yeah, of course.
And he, of course, I think David Tyson has his fingerprints all over the Atlanta Miles album.
Well, he produced it, yeah.
Yeah, he produced it, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But it's such a small world, it's all going to connect because, of course, Black Velvet. So Black Velvet was co-written by Christopher Ward, who was dating Atlanta Miles as well, which is a fun fact here. So, and that's how Greg Keeler got in Crash Vegas, because he was dating Michelle McAdory at the time. So this is an important Canadian musical history. You got to, you know. Okay, but here's a long-winded way of saying. So the first exposure some of us get to Amanda Marshall is the Jeff Healey band.
That's right.
And she's, you know, I love Jeff Healey. I live pretty close to where he's buried, actually, at Park Lawn Cemetery. Jeff Healey, what a legend. But the drummer of the Jeff Healey band is a guy, he's no longer with us, but he's also been over for an episode, is Tom Stephen.
Yeah, yes, I know Tom Stephen. Yeah.
So, shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. He's no longer with us, but it was, you know, Amanda's kind of disappeared she's not very old now, but she disappeared. No,
she's in her 50s.
Yeah, like probably early 50s.
Yeah.
But she disappeared for a couple of decades because she had a follow-up to this self-titled, which had a lot of American interference, I call it, and then it was noticeable to me that she doesn't really come back for her resurgence, her return, until Tom Stephen dies. Like, do you have any insight into why Amanda Marshall seemingly disappeared for a couple of decades?
Well, I would think it's got a lot to do with Tom Stephen. My experience was, David and my experience with Tom Stephen was not very pleasant, you know. I don't know what else I can say without getting into trouble.
Well, I mean, I'm connecting. I mean, no trouble because he's passed away. I feel like Lauren says it's okay. And besides, if you tell the truth, you can't get trouble. And I'm not asking you to stir up any dirt.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of stories, just because that's what I'm here for. It's like that after Birmingham came out in America, that Tom went down to Tommy Mottola at Sony and banged on the desk and said, "You got to release Dark Horse, and this next single, this is what it's got to be." And that was it. It was over for her. It was over for her in America because they've got 10 other Amanda Marshalls,
Right.
and they're not going to be told by Tom Stephen or anybody else for that matter what they should be doing. Uh, that's my Tom Stephen story. That's the one I'm going to tell anyway.
Well, that's the one we can tell, and then you can tell me all the rest later off the record. But
Yes.
but I mean,
Okay.
I'm not an idiot, right? Like, so I can connect these dots, and I do
Yes.
know about like legal activity.
Yeah.
So
Between him,
yeah,
her and him.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, she was, he had her tied up for the last 25 years.
Well, it pisses me off because what a tremendous artist, what a great voice, and what a hell of a self-titled debut album Amanda Marshall had. Well, no small thanks to you, but she's got the pipes, she's got the look. She's
Absolutely. But
and,
she didn't, in my estimation, she didn't have the songs after the first record. And that may be part of Tom Stevens' doing too. I'll tell you another little story while I'm thinking about it.
yeah.
It's like there's a song on the record called Last Exit to Eden, which is pretty much mine. And he came to us after it was recorded and said, I want a piece of that song. I want a piece of that song or it's not going on the record.
You know who
And
that
we
sounds
said-
like? You know who that sounds like?
He said, Amanda wants a piece, and that means he wants a piece, right? Because he's got a piece of her. And we just said, and knowing Mike Roth, the A&R guy, they'd spent 15 grand on the track. There's no way they were pulling it off the record. And we just said, that's not going to happen. If you want the song, it's as is. You're not going to get a piece of it. Anyway, that's what she was dealing with for the last 25 years, in my estimation.
Now, I have tried very hard to get Amanda Marshall to visit the basement here for a chat because she's on a comeback after after Tom Stephen passed away. But
Well,
I'm unsuccessful so far, but I'm still trying because I would love to talk to this talented Canadian musician.
So would I.
You can co-host that episode with me when
I haven't talked to her in 30 years,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and
unfortunate.
again, it is unfortunate. But she hasn't talked to David. I know she hasn't talked to David.
Right.
And I don't know whether Christopher has talked to her or not.
Well, you all got painted with this. Sounds like this experience with Tom Stephen was so negative that she sort of painted you all with the same brush.
I kind of think, yeah, she was young and very impressionable, and was sold a bill of goods by somebody who, was not the nicest man. I don't think.
No,
I mean, Lord knows that the music business is full of people like Tom Stephen, and like you said, I shouldn't be speaking this way about him because he's passed on, but.
Well, you're just telling the truth, right? And then and I feel like these stories should be shared because, and again, I do need to talk to Amanda, but when you connect these dots, these are your core years as a chanteuse are your 20s and 30s. Like these are the core years. Now, one thing when you talk about that move, that uncool move Tom Stephen does, wanting a piece of the action, it does remind me of a more successful producer who would pull that move. Phil Spector.
Oh yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff happened all the time, but that doesn't mean you give into it. I mean, I can remember when I was first getting started, David and I wrote a song called "Catch Me When I Fall" that Smokey Robinson wanted to cut. I mean, we had like 2 minor cuts before this. This was a big deal, and they said, well, and of course, Smokey wants half of it. It's like, that's not right.
Right.
So, I mean, looking back, we probably should have gave it to him,
it's little
but that kind of stuff I don't know whether it still goes on, but it certainly back then it went on all the time.
Well, the game is rigged.
Yeah, pretty much.
The only way you can't lose is if you don't play.
I guess so. Yeah.
You're writing these down? I'm giving these lines, Dean. You got to write these down. But
well, I am writing them down.
Quick anecdote here before we wrap, because you've been amazing. Like, I really, really This is all I could ever hope for. I really enjoyed this, but
And the smoke detector didn't go off, which
no, I
is a
know.
bonus.
Like it could go off now, and I'll just do the extra
Well,
without you.
I actually put it in my garage and covered it with like
Wow.
a sweater,
Wow.
and because it just wouldn't stop.
Jeez. Okay, that sounds like
Anyway,
torture. But Brian Wilson famously was obsessed with the Ronettes, and you know the jam he couldn't get out of his head. So he wrote a song for the Ronettes, and the song he wrote for the Ronettes was "Don't Worry, Baby." And Phil Spector wouldn't let them record it because Phil Spector wasn't going to get a writing credit, and
isn't that
so
something?
that's a true story that Brian Wilson tells. Anyways, Beach Boys had a hit with it, but the rest is history. But that was written for the Ronettes.
Wow.
Brian Wilson.
I heard a story once that David Clayton Thomas was offered Bridge Over Troubled Waters and turned it down
Okay,
before Simon and
of
Garfunkel
course.
put it out. Yeah.
Yeah, those stories. Okay, wow. Next thing you're going to tell me is Otis Redding recorded "Respect" before Aretha. I won't believe it if you tell me that story, though. That's
I did not know. I do not know.
well, it all comes back to Stax Records and Rob Bowman.
Yeah,
Okay.
and as far as Stax goes, that was my favorite on Stax with
Otis.
Otis.
Yeah.
What a voice! I mean, the voice, and to think that he wrote those songs, and Steve Cropper just passed away like a few months ago.
Yes. Yes.
That was my guy. That band. If you see any of the early footage of Booker T and the MGs, there's one from Norway or something. Those guys could play, you know. Duck Dunn. I forget what the drummer's name is. Al something. Fabulous band. Anyway.
No, love that chat there, and what inspires you, and that's all legendary stuff. And if people want to check out the recent visit from Rob Bowman, we go into all that. But Otis Redding, there's a guy when you think of what he wrote and what he accomplished. Steve Cropper produces "Dock of the Bay," but of course it's posthumous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it goes to number one. I believe in the Billboard history of Billboard, that was the first time a number one song went to somebody who had passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go. I'm dropping the bombs on you here.
That's a fabulous song.
Well, fabulous song, good production by Steve Cropper, who's sadly no longer with us, and you're still going strong here. On our way out, like, what's occupying? I know you said you're 73, but there's no rest for the wicked, Dean. What are you up to these days?
I still write, and I play the odd gig here and there. When a good songwriting gig, I like the songwriting gigs when I can just show up on myself. Now, I mean, I did a gig with a band last year, and it was fabulous, the playing part. But when you don't do it all the time, for me anyway, it's a lot of preparation to get ready, so I don't get up there and make a complete ass of myself, But I still write 4 or 5 days a week, so and that keeps me somewhat sane.
I'll bet. And in your entire lifetime of writing songs, many of which have become rather big hits, like if you had to pick one, okay, the only song you get to keep that you wrote, which song do you keep?
That's tough. I think Birmingham is the best lyric I ever wrote. Yeah.
If I wrote Birmingham, I'd get a T-shirt made that said I wrote Birmingham, and I would just.
and you know what? Sometimes it happens fast. That lyric, for the most part, happened in a night. That is not the norm for me. Wow. Not for me. It just kind of fell out of the sky in LA one night, and there may have been some stimulants involved, but
that's the real talk.
Yeah. It doesn't happen like that for me. It's work, more perspiration than inspiration for me, for sure. For the most part, most of the time,
Wow. And we mentioned the name Christopher Ward, and we mentioned Much Music. It's worth noting that Christopher Ward is tied with a gentleman for being the first VJ in Much Music history, because when they launch Much Music, they both go through this paper wall thing. They burst through it. It's Christopher Ward. Right. Can you name the other guy beside him?
It wasn't Mike, was it? Mike?
No, he wasn't quite there yet. He's another guy from Cleveland, by the way, Mike Williams. Here's a clue.
It wasn't John. What's his name?
You got it.
John Major.
No, but you're close.
No, John Roberts,
Yeah.
J.D. Roberts.
So JD Roberts. Yeah. And today he's probably, maybe he's in Davos, Switzerland covering some,
That would be my guess. That's where he is today. And Jesus.
some old man is going to go off on windmills.
I can, I can only imagine
Okay.
what's going to happen there today.
All we'll say is if you had a loved one who was rambling on about windmills and stuff, you would get that person some medical help and some assistance.
I would think so. It's scary. If it, you know, it would be funny if it wasn't so scary, you know.
Yeah, if he didn't have the world's largest military at his disposal, this would be rather hilarious.
Just when you think he can't do anything any stupider, he does.
All right. Well, Dean, I'll save you. I'll save you from becoming a target if we trash that guy anymore, because he's pretty thin-skinned narcissist, and
apparently so.
but I love this very much, and I appreciate you giving me all this time. And anytime you need anything, Toronto Mike is here. We can do this again sometimes. But I love this.
That
so thank
sounds
you.
great, Mike. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. It was fun.